Okay, welcome, 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 everybody. I hope you are alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic about life and living and are having a fabulous day. But not only a fabulous day, you are set up to have a fabulous year. I am Elizabeth Green, and I am an intuitive life channel, well, coach. It's always flips out about being a channel. I am the founder of the Indigo Institute of Nevada, and I welcome everybody to Perfectly Imperfect, the show that is designed to give you tips, strategies, and resources so that you can live your best life. Now, today we are talking about how to trust your inner guidance. And I have a special guest on with me today who is Karen Marie Campbell, who is the founder of The Spirit Within You. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for having me on your show. And thank you for all the listeners who are joining us. I appreciate each and every one of you.
Okay, everybody who is, hey, Tiffany, everybody who is here and listening on replay. Before we get started, really into the meat of my material, let me just tell you quickly, as I said, about myself real quick. I am Elizabeth Green. I am an intuitive life coach and the founder of the Indigo Institute of Nevada. If you'd like to find out more information about me, you can go to K Elizabeth Green. I have a brand KElizabethGreen.com. I have a brand new website. I have finally gotten up and going, and I'm so proud of myself because I did it myself. And, it may not be perfect, but it's done. And we learned that we're in the process of becoming. Karen is getting her camera all set over there. I do have a new class coming up starting on the 12th. It's called The Essential Skills for Creating the Life You Want. And if you go to my website, you can find out all of the information about it. I will be having a webinar on Saturday that will go through all of the pieces and parts. So just follow along and you will be able to find out more about that. But we're going to go ahead and get started today. We're talking about how to trust your inner guidance. And my guest here, Karen Marie Campbell, was the first person I met when I came into Las Vegas. I was looking originally from Chicago. And I was looking for a place that had metaphysical books and stones, crystals, and everything else like that. And Karen, and she'll be back in a second, Karen was one of those people there. That's very good. Karen, need to have you with your sound.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Karen was one of those people, and she is
guys, if you could lower, because we're picking it all up.
Okay.
And Isis, can you turn the music off for a second?
All right, Karen, you ready to go? Let Karen introduce herself. Go ahead, Karen.
So my name is Karen Campbell, and I'm the creator of the Spirit Within You Metaphysical Boutique here. We like to call ourselves a wholeness center because here's where I like to say the gift is you. You're looking for you. And so here we encourage people to walk their path, talk their truth, no matter what it looks like to the individuals outside of themselves.
All right. Now, Karen, can you share a little bit how we met when I came down there talking about indigos?
Sure, I was excited because at that point I was experiencing meeting indigo children and wanted to support them. Having had my own experience as a child, I knew the importance of having someone outside of yourself let you know it's okay, that what you're going through in this moment is not uncommon and it's not scary and you're not crazy. And so when I met Elizabeth, when she walked in my doors and told me who she was and what she did, I was like, universe, thank you, thank you. I can now support more children. And now, as the years progress, we're supporting more adults. So I love it.
Yeah, because that was almost 10 years ago that we met. And many of the indigos that we were seeing were much younger. But we realized the indigos range over our lifetime. And one of the things, they range from age 5 all the way up to 65, you know. And when you talked about being different, Karen, what were some of the things that you were experiencing?
But beyond my five senses, I would experience seeing things and hearing things and dreams or outer body experience, astral traveling. And I was too young to understand what was going on because I was born in Jamaica. And so I remember as young as 3 years old seeing spirits, but not knowing what the heck. And at that time, you're a child, you can't articulate enough of what you're experiencing. And then when you don't have adults to support you, to let you talk through what you're experiencing, because the first thing is an adult who loves you is going to want something different than that experience for you. So oftentimes, what we do as adults to children is we don't give them the permission to feel what it is that they're feeling and articulate it in their way of their understanding. We're, oh, honey, that didn't happen. Are you sure it's not make-believe? Well, no, it's not make-believe. And yes, I'm experiencing this. But a child at that point isn't old enough to be able to speak his or her truth, to explain what it, they are speaking their truth, but the adults around them does not necessarily have the skill sets to understand how to support this child. And that's why the Spirit Within You came about, which is located in Las Vegas, Nevada, and on the World Wide Web. And that's www.thespiritwithinyou, you as in universe.com. And the U came out because there's a universe within each and every one of us. And so I wanted to support more people who struggled like I did as a child. And what tends to happen in my personal experience, I then became an introvert. It was too painful for me to continue to live in this world. So what I did really, really well is I checked out. I would completely check out because that was where my comfort zone is. I had my own pretend family. Everything that I created, I curated in my imagination so I can deal with the pain of being here on Earth. Because at the age of 9, I understood that I was not from this planet. I don't know why I was in this family, and I was angry. And I think that happens to a lot of us who have memories of not necessarily being on this planet or coming from this planet. But then again, there's nothing to validate those feelings. So then what tends to happen, fear and despair tends to come up, anxiety and all these other issues, because there's no one around you that had that experience to put their arms around you and say, let me explain these things that you're experiencing. Let me see how we can help you. And that's how I came about.
Yeah. And I found myself, Karen, as I have shared with my co-hosts who came on, Karen Fern up there in Canada.
Hi, Karen.
I've got two Karens on with me today, Karen C and Karen K. But I started on my search because I wanted to know why I was seeing, hearing, feeling things that I that other people weren't. And I was told that I needed to pretend like I was normal. Anybody out there, just put a one who's listening to us who have also experienced the same type of isolation where you find that people in your immediate family didn't quite understand what you were saying. And Karen, I know, okay, here we come. Yep, I know. And what about you, Karen? Anybody else besides Laura?
Yeah, I think it's because I guess in my case, it was I talk too much. And of course, I had no filter. So you got it exactly what's going to happen, what's going on. And usually it wasn't good stuff. So I was told to zip it because, when I say it and then they see what happened, not good. So I had stopped talking for, maybe like a whole year.
Yeah. And I think that is the case.
I would just, I had just zipped it. Like, no conversation.
You're breaking up a little bit, Karen. Can we have Karen? Okay. All right. Now, Karen runs into a lot of people that are like that are seeing, feeling, and hearing things that other people haven't. And what I have discovered is that is one of the many traits that indigos tend to have, is that sensitivity there. And they're wondering, how do I trust your inner guidance? And before we talk about trusting your inner guidance, let's talk about what is inner guidance.
So this is Karen from Las Vegas, the Spirit Within You. And for me, what I've learned over the years is the inner guidance is that feeling within, that knowing within your beingness that we all come to the earth plane with. Every one of us has this ability. But unfortunately, as we grow, we are indoctrined or programmed to ignore it or second guess it. And that's where self-doubt or worthiness conversations tends to happen with the most sensitive individuals who may not have an adult around them to support what it is that's going on with them. That this is an inner, for me, inner guidance is an inner knowing, the perfection of the Creator working through me, as me, by me, manifesting in a perfect way. That's what inner guidance is for me.
And I like what you put down here, Karen C. Knowing without a shadow of a doubt that it's true. You may not be able to pull a book. You may not be able to reference it, but your gut tells you it's true. And that is the same thing as our intuition. And let me say, all of you who are here, and if you have a question, go ahead, put a slash, a Q, and a space, and we'll answer any questions. And we will have time for you to come on, any of those of you who would like to ask the questions in person. But okay, clearly feeling the truth of a situation is our inner guidance. Now, where does it come from?
Well, if no one wants to answer, I'll answer that. I'll give someone a chance if someone wants to answer that.
No, go ahead, Karen. Well, that's why we have you on.
It comes from within you. You're the perfect manifestation of the Creator of your understanding. You came into the earth plane with everything that you needed to know to be here on Earth School, to experience what you agreed to experience before you came on the Earth School. And so that means out of love you came from, and out of the perfection of love, you have everything inside of you. There's nothing outside of you that you need to reach into or discover. Everything is inside you. It's just a matter of awakening that remembrance that you have forgotten.
Yeah, and we had a question that was posed. When you say inner guidance, are you referring to that untrained consciousness with which we all have been endowed with?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. It is an untrained consciousness, but I also want to refrain from not giving it enough credit when we say untrained, because it knows what it knows. It's just your humanness gets in the way. That's how perfect and divine you are. It knows what it knows, but your humanness, based on how you were brought up and your programming, tends to not allow it to give it the credibility that it deserves. And that's where we get into conflict with our higher self, as well as our inner, that feeling of knowing, as well as our humanness. That's what I like to call it. It gets in the way because it will always refer back to what it's comfortable with until a new awareness comes in. And when the new awareness comes in, then the paradigm shifts, but there has to be a safe place for the new awareness to come in. If it doesn't, then we tend to fight against it. We won't surrender into the perfect unfoldment. We will fight against it. So that's correct, WP Consulting, but the untrained consciousness, I would be very careful with that one.
Yeah, because it's not untrained. You know, it's that we're untrained to recognize it.
Correct.
And, you know, that's one of my big missions, is to help people recognize that they're getting guidance. You know, many of us have a background of religion. And because we've read the Bible so many times, and we think that if you get guidance, the sky's gonna open up, the fire's gonna start burning, you know, but I go back to that verse that says, still small voice. It's that small voice within you that's so subtle that sometimes it can be missed by all of the other garbage that's going on and chatter that's going on in your head. So, you know, our inner guidance can come through a song. Our inner guidance can come through a book that just happened to fall open. Our inner guidance can come, like Karen, I'm always running into her shop, and it's divine timing, because it'll be like there is a person right there that needs to hear what we have to say.
Absolutely. And in the course of being on Earth School and working through our development, because I always say to people, when you come on Earth School, if you start, there are more than 7 chakras, which are the 7 vortex energy fields in the body, but let's just stay with the 7 for the sake of this discussion. So I always say to my young people, you see where the root chakra is right here in the crotch area, where your fear and every humanness is here, where all your stuff is going to come up. I said, all you're doing is working your way back up to source. So as you master each chakra, you're working your way back up to source. So how that looks like is all on interpretation of what it is that you're wanting, but it doesn't have to look like someone else. Oftentimes, when we get on the path of spirituality, we tend to, because we don't, again, trust our inner guidance, we tend to base our journey on someone else's experience, when in fact it's your experience. There's no 2 fingerprints alike. Why is that? Because you are a unique being unto yourself. It is your experience. And what's so amazing about the mind, anytime you choose to have a different experience, you can do so, just like that.
Without any thought. You can just change. You can change
just like that.
Good morning, Miss Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
Or good afternoon for some.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Yep, you wanted to jump in. What did you have to add to the conversation?
Well, first, I missed you guys. You know that I had a challenging end of the year, but it was so good. And I had oral surgery yesterday. You see my mouth is still a little bit swollen, but I feel 1,000 times better. And I did some energetic work on myself. So I think that helped a lot. and in the mind work. Well, I just was commenting that I appreciate how much that our women of color are coming to this realization and reawakening to our divine connection, our divine spirit, God-given power, and the importance of it. How we are able to affect changes, not in just our lives, but in worlds, by accessing and accepting this power, and then not just accessing it, but sharing it and the importance of it with others. And I tell people, I don't know about all the other stuff that happens. I just know what my role is, and I'm on the wake up crew. So, you know, some of us, everybody has a purpose and a point in this divinity, in this walk. There's some of us who are revolutionaries and we're the fighters. I'm not the fighter. Some of us are the lion pokers. I'm not that either, but I definitely am part of the wake up crew where I touch sensitivities and expand vision. So this is important for us to tap into that intuition, tap into that inner knowing, to keep ourselves grounded in this journey, so that we know and we're able to be the most effective in the work that we're doing, and in the elevation of our own awareness as well.
Okay. You want to talk about that?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think, go. And also I wanted to point out one of the first things. Hi. One of the WC guy, one of the first things I wanted to point out, it's knowing, I know some of us don't know that early, but when you understand what your place, where you place, what your role is within your family, and some of us has to get older to figure out our space and our place, then as we grow, we get to understand what we need to do in this world, which again, sometimes takes a long time to figure out. And even when I was young and things have come, I knew what my role was without a doubt. But it was a hard thing to say because it never sounded good, right? And so it took me a long time to be able to say to people, I am my mother's keeper. This was this word that would not leave me, this phrase. And I started examining why that was my first role. And everything that happens just plays itself to show me why. Because when you ask questions, you get the answer, right? Once you lay them out, the answers come to you. You might not like some of them, but if you're really open, they'll flow towards you. And you'd either accept them or get rid of them. But that was the first thing, and everything that I did in that path. Then when that was over, when I didn't need to do it anymore, and I knew my secondary job, and I just applied myself and do what was needed to be done. Again, those answers came, and I was able to do it. And so I will say that when I was single, it was simpler and easier to negotiate those terms and know where I stood and what I needed to do. When I add another human being into the mix of things, I had to take a real big step back, which was hard to do and explain because if you don't understand your journey, or the person that enters in don't understand all the things that you have to do or get done, you're simply steady explaining yourself. And once I was over that, I got to the place where I could just simply state a fact, and that's it. But I had to go through all those, tears to get myself to this point where it's just, here it is, this is it, and that's it.
Absolutely.
In my business journey too.
And I find that
we can't hear you, Elizabeth.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I agree with you about that. Going through your journey, that's when we learn to really trust. You know, when you learn to distinguish all of the voices that you're getting in your head, and why you want to learn to trust your inner guidance, because it's like your Geiger counter. It will, you know, it's what we were God given to be able to take us through, to navigate our way through life. Okay, thank you. I'm still learning how to read the what's going on the side and talk at the same time. But yeah, being able to trust it because it navigates us through.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I mention something in regards to that? I think that it's always important to realize that even though it's an internal gift that we have, that if we don't take time to practice it and grow it, then we're always going to question it. It's just like walking. If you are starting to walk and then you stop for, 20 years, you have to be reacclimated to it. You have to be reacclimated to anything. And so just speaking for myself and my own personal journey was one of the things I used to tell a friend of mine was that God doesn't talk to me because she's prophetic. So I would talk to her and I said, well, you tell me what he said. And she was like, he's talking all the time. He's always talking to you. And the fact is, a lot of times we don't listen because we don't feel that we have the gifting or that we're special enough or that he would love us that much or that we are enabled in that way. And then I think on top of that, and I've talked about this on your other Blabcast about how religion often just tampers our personal relationship because we feel that there needs to be a middleman. And then we don't understand that we're all spiritual and we all are spiritually gifted. And in order for us to access it, we have to first say yes. We have to be willing, because when I first started out, it was kind of scary because it was like, well, am I doing evil stuff? Am I doing good stuff? Am I trying to become a witch? What am I, there were all these questions. And so until we say, hey, I trust that what I ask for and what I expect to come to me is only good, then when you follow that trusting footstep, then what comes to you is good and it gets better. And then you start to see your gifts manifest to where the point where up until earlier last year, I wasn't able to say that I'm a spiritual healer. I wasn't able to say that I'm an intuitive healer, but I am. But in order for me to do that, I had to take steps and constantly seek out and hone the gift and start to trust what I was seeing and start to trust what I was hearing and feeling.
Well, I totally agree with you, Tiffany, on that. That's one reason that the title of my book, which is My Journey, is called Building Spiritual Muscle. Because when you're young, when you come here, you have this intuitive gift. It's strong. You don't question it. You just share it. Okay. And then because of outer things, our family, our friends, our church, we learn that this particular muscle, other people don't want us to quite show it. So we have a tendency of not using it, but it's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It is scary when stuff is happening and you don't know why it's happening, and people are putting the wrong connotations on it, But what I love, and that's one of the things that I really am passionate about, is you can learn. You can learn to go back and strengthen that muscle. You can become so that you can tell if it's good or bad guidance. You can tell where this inner guidance is coming from. Karen, you look like you were getting ready to say something. Karen K.
No, I agree with everything that's being stated. I agree with Tiffany, but the thing that what I like what you said, Tiffany, it takes practice to trust your inner guidance, because nothing else around you is going to support you. It's not going to validate you. It's not going to confirm so it's your divine birthright to trust your inner guidance. It's your divine birthright to stand up and say, this is who I am, You know, and as that book stated, what you think of me is none of my business. Mm-hmm. And so it's challenging because as children, depending on how you were brought up, you're taught to be polite and not say this and not say that. And it isn't until we get older and go through what I call our trials and tribulations here on earth that we develop this awareness that says, you know what, dang it, I'm just going to be me. And you get pushed to that point. You know, you're either being pushed or pulled by spirit. And so when you get to that point, and I'm sure Elizabeth will sign back on, when you get to that point, you then realize that, you know what, I'm who I am. I'm happy with who I am. And this is the path that I choose. And it doesn't have to look like what other people think. It doesn't have to be anything but my path. And what I choose to do as a spiritual discipline each day is up to me. But what you said, Tiffany, is important. It takes a practice. So if your spiritual practice that allows your intuition to unfold and develop it and bring it to a place where it's actually guiding you every step of the way, it requires some discipline. Because when you master a subject matter, it's after you've done it over and over and over again until it becomes a natural state of being. And so in our beingness, when we develop our spiritual practice, what we find is it takes, again, practice. So when you develop your spiritual practice, you may use a mantra, you may use meditation, you may use yoga, you may take hikes. Whatever your spiritual practice is totally up to you. It doesn't involve anyone else but you and your journey, so it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Just celebrate and be happy with it until a new awareness comes along. And I always tell my people when they come in, if you have a moment where I call a state of enlightenment or nirvana, where all of a sudden everything opens up and you're in a state of consciousness where you realize you are one with everything. You feel everything. You are everything. Don't try to repeat that again. Bless it and open your arms for something bigger and better to come in. Because if you focus on trying to recapture that moment, then you are closing the door to something else that's also trying to get through. This was a moment. This showed you that in this moment, I can attain this. So now as I attain this, I just continue to go on and on and on until I attain and gather more of who I am, more in my remembrance. And so my state of being now becomes that which I want. And that's where your intuition and your inner guidance starts to unfold perfectly, where you speak the word. That's why the word is so powerful. When you speak the word and it manifests itself in form, it's the most powerful thing. And that's why your thoughts are extremely powerful, because it's going to manifest regardless of where you're at.
Elizabeth, I don't want to talk too much, but she just said something really, really important. I think that goes along with the practice is that it can come in many different forms, and you may have to try on a couple pair of shoes before you find the right ones that fit. Like when I started out, I tried different things. What works for me now is meditation, prayer, and reading. And then, for me, when I meditate and when I sit back, that's when I hear. That's when I get answers. But it took me, I went to a chanting service to see if that worked. Now I ain't like that. I went, you have to try on different shoes to see what works for you. I know some people, like you said, who running is their meditation, and running is where they start to hear their answers and they get their inner guidance worked up. I know that what has been fundamental is really being discerning about people who have gifts and who I listen to that are gifted, and learning how to listen to people with gifts, but also still trusting my own and not just taking all their words, because that's the problem that'll happen too.
That's a key point. And because I've been in the spirit within you has been around since 2000. And so I've had the blessings and the pleasure of meeting all types of people, both earthly bound and non-earthly bound. Let's just say it. We won't give any names. And in that process, I have found that as you're going through opening up to spirituality, there tends to be a tendency to swing the pendulum way up to, I trust everyone, I'm open to everything, because I've been so closed off for such a long time. Tiffany, you brought a great point up, and I always say to my younger adults, especially come in here, it is your responsibility to practice discernment. If your inner guidance tells you, I don't care what the person can be, a guru, can be a monk, whatever. If your inner guidance is saying there's something not right here, trust it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right.
Yes.
And you can excuse yourself by just making statements and said, if someone asks you to do something, I always tell my young adults, until we learn to say no, because we're so used to saying yes, you can often say to the person, while I appreciate what you're requesting of me, I believe in prayer and meditation. I need time. I desire time to pray and meditate, because that's one of my spiritual practice. Will you give me that time? Of course, the person's going to say yes. Now, you did not say no, and you didn't say yes. This allows you to go back into intuition, allow what your guidance tells you. And when that no comes up, it is a no. Do not go back, because you'll see it unfold in a way that does not work for you or your higher self. And that's why discernment is extremely important as you open yourself to your spiritual experiences, your metaphysical experience, whatever experiences that you're designed, you must practice discernment.
Okay. And one way the discernment is through our feelings. You know, we are so closed about our feelings. If it makes you feel good, if you're feeling content, if you're feeling settled, you're going in the right direction. If it's making you feel icky, scared, or any way uncomfortable, that's your guidance telling you, no, you shouldn't go that way. And you don't have to question yourself as to why am I feeling this way. Trust it, say no, and move on. You know, you don't have to justify your feelings. I am always appalled as parents push kids to hug other adults. And, you know, because what you're doing is you're teaching them not to trust their feeling. Their feeling is to say, no, I'm not ready to approach that person. I'm scanning that person to decide if they're acceptable for me. But we're telling them, oh, no, this is cousin Lou, or this is mama so-and-so. Go hug them. So what we're teaching them is to not trust that inner guidance. That inner guidance is telling them no.
That's an excellent point, because I see children here from, you know, babies. I have a lot of spirit within you babies, meaning that I knew the moms before they conceived. And so they're my babies, I call them. And when they start as toddlers, they come in, the parents have a tendency to say, don't touch. And I have a tendency to say, touch everything. It is our responsibilities as adults to make sure they don't pull anything on them that will endanger them, because they don't know any fear, and we want them to stay open to not having any fear. I also say, when I always kneel down to the height of the child, and I say, my name is Miss Karen, it's nice to meet you, may I hug you? If the child says no, and I said, I'm going to respect that, I hope that towards the end of our visit today, I would have earned your love and your hug. And the child looks with the biggest smile, and these little babies, they have a knowing. And towards the end of the visit, I always get a hug, because I laid the ground rules to respect that you don't have to hug me, respect that you don't even have to talk to me, but I'm leaving the door open that if there is a possibility, which there are infinite possibilities, that I would be one of them. And I allow this child to do it. And then the parents are watching this. because this is the first time that they're actually seeing the benefit of speaking to their child that way. And when they do, I then take the parent aside when the child is preoccupied and ask them, what did you notice in that exchange? And then a light bulb always clicks on, because our children, when they come into Earth School, do not come with a set of rule books or anything. And the children who are coming into the Earth plane now, and I know, Elizabeth, you can talk about this more than I, these children, the tools and the programming that our parents taught us will not work with them. And the reason why I know this, because I get the cutters, I get the suicidal children, I get the transgender children, I get the ones who feel they're completely lost. They're not lost, they're not broken. All they are unique beings desiring and begging to be loved just for their perfection, which is an imperfection to our society. When we look and say we are spiritual beings having a human existence, we are not a sex. We incarnated, I as Karen, I'm incarnated in a female body at this time, but I am not the female body called Karen. I am bigger than that. And so the more that I acknowledge that and accept that as to be my absolute truth, and just throw my arms in it and run like I'm on the top of the mountain and just drop off and free dive, that's when everything that's possible comes through me as infinite possibilities. And we all have that right.
Yeah. Karen has such a haven, and that's what I love about it. She has such a haven for these that are lost. And that is why we both are so passionate. Mine is to teach those that are ready to move. Karen is to give them enough comfort to get past that fear. But once you get past that fear, I'm ready to help you, because I know that you came here for a unique reason. I know that you can do anything that you wish, and all you need is the right information and support to do that. So when you turn them back into trusting their inner guidance, you turn them back into listening to your intuition. It's so gratifying. One of the young ladies that I met, Karen, at the Bear Hug, the one who had the little boy, she has a 3-year-old who was bouncing off the wall. Well, recognize, those of you who have young people, that these little ones are like radios. They are like antennas. They are reflecting back to you the energy a lot of times that you are demonstrating to them. And when you can learn to tap down on yourself, calm down yourself, it's amazing how the child will calm down. And we've been working through that. And she came so excited this week. Let me tell you what happened. I did what you suggested. I went and I calmed down. And, I went into the bathroom and I took a couple of deep breaths opposed to yelling at my son. And, I came back and I took a deep breath and I talked to him about the behavior. And do you know he changed it?
Absolutely.
And she was so excited about the fact that it worked. By changing yourself, you change what's happening on the outer. When you listen to the inner voice that is telling you, this is what you need, this makes you content, there's a lot of joy, you will find that your world will change around you. But I had another question here. Anything else that you all wanted to make comments? And if there's anybody who is here who has a question that you would like us to address, please put it up there so that we can see it. Q/Q space, type it in. Love to hear the question.
WP guy has been talking a lot on the side.
Okay. All righty. What specifically has he said that I'm gonna put my glasses back on?
Yeah,
I'll step out if you want me to. He's been offering tips.
Okay. All right. Well, if you would like to come in, WPC guy, would you like to come in and ask your question? Just type in yes or no, and Tiff, I'll be more than happy to allow you to come in and ask your question personally. We would love it. Okay, what we're doing, people who are seeing us on replay, I'm reading what Guy wrote. And he said, you're just referred to your being incarnated as a woman, which is an interesting idea. But I believe all human men and women were created by God, and we're here through procreative acts. I agree that we are holding a particular form, and we are projecting a particular vibration, be it female, be it male, but we all come from the one source.
Correct.
The one source that it definitely sustains and takes care of all of us. I had a question, if there are no others here. I noticed that a lot of the people that we work with have closed down their heart, and they can't tell what true feelings are. They've been hurt so much that they've closed down their heart. And I do believe in knowing about your chakras. Okay, I do believe in knowing about your chakra, and your heart chakra sits in the middle. It's what connects our bottom, our physical chakras with all of our intuitive ones, and if our heart is blocked, many of us give, but because we've had such a problem with getting, we've learned to close our heart. That can also close our channel to hearing what we're getting. And so allowing it to open up, allowing it to not being afraid that we are going to be guided in the wrong direction is a critical factor. How do you tell the difference between the voices in your head?
That's a very good question. Let's see who would like to answer that.
Hi, well, I'll answer it my way. And just give a little bit of an example. Over the holidays, I probably give you a lot of practical answers. So and Elizabeth knows this about me. So over the holidays, my dryer went crazy and it's not drying to clothes. And then my washer was behaving like if a tornado was happening in the laundry room. And then on Sunday, my fridge stopped working. And I went to the store to check out prices and see what I'm doing and run a few other errands. And when I came back out, my car would not start. My car battery died. And I was doing some work on my computer before I got on here. That's why I had to use my son's computer. And it just went kaput on me. Now, the computer is still working, but it was doing some funny things. So there's no way I can deal with that. So I started asking, why is this happening? So I'm a big talker. And I've got 6 other family members, and they hear me walking and talking. So I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? What's going on? Why is everything crashing at once, And so I'm saying this as to say the answers that's happening in my head. So I would often question, what's going on? What are you trying to tell me? What is it I'm not doing? Or what am I doing too much of? Or what is it that I need to pay more attention to? And when I get the answer, for me, I know what I'm hearing. I'm at the stage now where I know what I would like to hear versus what is truth. So when I get those, I go ahead with them. And without a doubt, when I get the answer that is the answer, there's nothing else for me to question. Now, if you're at a stage where you're still questioning and you haven't grown there yet, I've also been there because, of course, I couldn't get to this place before I was at that place. So that had kept me in this sort of a limbo where I'll be running doing this and running doing that because, again, I'm not listening to that really small, tiny voice that was clear as day, even though it was small and tiny, but it was clear as day. And to refer to what Karen was saying about kids, I have one grandson, and as he got a little older, he wouldn't come to me. He wouldn't hug me, but he would go hug my husband. And he was more into the boys. So he liked his dad, my husband, his other grandfather, his mom. And my son said to the day, Mom, are you feeling really bad? Because, I know that they noticed because I noticed. And I said, I'm not going to lie. When it first happened, I did. But I also recognize that I have a strong spirit. And if you can't handle me, you're going to back off of me. The people that he's hugging and more in tune with, as much as he's only a year plus, allow him to get away with things. So, of course, he's more into them. No, it sounds crazy to them. And they're like, yes, he read me. He knew what he can do. So, of course, I'm not his first choice. And I'm not offended by it because I will not move the way I am. But they would allow him to. So, of course. So now he's 2. He's going to be, 3 in February. He has gradually learned and he watches. And when I came home the other day, he put his hand in mine and he wanted to come into my space. So he walked down the stairs with me. But I knew it had to take time. I was not about to force myself on him because in my mind, he's my grandson. We're going to talk when he's old enough to have this conversation. If I didn't get the amount of hugs that I would love, I'm not going to lie, wanted them, didn't get them, but also understand that I'm not going to force to get them. And it was like a discussion between his mom, my son, his other grandparents. They're like, Karen, how come you're so strong? It's not about being strong about it. It's a fact, because I'm a very logical person, a fact. The things that he can get from me, he'll get them from you guys anyway, but he will never get that from me. So it will take him some time to learn how to be in the space with this grandma to get.
I totally agree. I used to chuckle as my granddaughter would, when she walked through my door, she knew that there was a certain behavior that you can do with Nana, okay? Nana's not going to wrap everybody around your finger, okay? Nana expects certain things to happen. And she would wait until her parents would, so she would do what I expected. As soon as her parents came in, she would even give me this little look like, they're here, and I would watch her twirl them around her finger. So yes, in that sense, I do agree with you, but in the larger sense of helping them to trust their own inner guidance. There is a question out here from Bonnie about noticing that people burn herbs and oils, and does it help with meditation? For me, it does. For me, it does. When a certain sense, I like frankincense and myrrh. I burn those two together. It helps me to focus. When I have a candle, it helps me to focus. But you don't need them in order to focus. It is just a way for me to tune in. It's like Pavlov's dog, that once I smell the scent, it brings me to a certain vibration. And then you could get a little bit deeper in the fact that certain herbs, certain oils do bring a certain vibration, which help you to connect easier. Karen, you were shaking your head, yes?
Yeah, I'm shaking my head, yes, because as I had shared with her for centuries, man has always used scent in prayer and meditation. And it goes way, way back. I'm not going to go to which group or argue that point because we're not here to do that. We're just here to acknowledge that for centuries we have used those herbal teas, herbal bath, all that God had created on this plant, which is natural to man. We have always used it in honoring our sacred space. This is a body temple, and within this body temple, there are sacred herbs and oils that can be used on a vibrational frequency, but there's none far greater than the human mind. Because as I state to people, they will only work at your mental equivalent. So if you are feeling down and out or negative or whatever, that's what's going to vibrate as you burn these oils, the candles, and the incense. The oils you don't burn because if they're therapeutic, they become volatile and you don't want to do that. But if you're using any kind of scent, there's nothing more powerful than the human mind. It's where your consciousness is. And so when people purchase candles from me, I always say to them, if you purchase a candle, for example, for a healing, which is just an object outside of you, there's no greater object than the God-given right that you have within yourself. And that's why it comes back to the mind. And again, using your intuition. But if you were to purchase that candle, what you want to always do is clean your mind, clean your spirit, clean your body temple before you light that candle. Because in lighting that candle, you're transferring that mental equivalent, that energy, into the candle, and that's what's burning. And it would counter what the candle, if the candle's for healing and you have hate, that's what's going to burn in the candle. That's what you're going to see more of. And so you always want to check in with yourself and what you're feeling, what's coming up with your intuition. The same when you meet other people that you don't like. I would like to offer to you, it's not about those other people, it's about where you are in your journey. If someone is your trigger, that spirit saying to you, I need to take a look at this. And when I take a look at this, and I start with forgiveness, which is forgiving myself first, for holding on to these thoughts, no right, wrong, or judgment, just holding on to them and allowing them to release. And you'll know it in your intuition. If you don't follow it, it will show up in the body as a physical manifestation called a disease. And for me, a disease is just a disconnect from God. It means that the body temple is requiring something, and sometimes it's as basic as water. And we're not listening to that inner guidance. We keep pushing and pushing ourselves. And then the body says, you know what? I need you to look at me. I need you to love me first. I need you to hear me. Now, our body can't talk in a language that we understand, like you and I are talking in English, because that's what I understand. So how does it show up in a community? As pain and discomfort and stress. Once we address it, and that's going into the silence, going into prayer, into the meditation, finding that God of your understanding, that come forth, at that point, the body says, yes, I remember who I am. All organs remember that every cell has a memory, and it works with each other. And so if the liver is needing more help, instead of having to pull from another organ, all the organs are going to come in and say, okay, we need to support this. But it all starts with the human consciousness, with the mind.
Hey, I totally agree with that. And I'm looking at the time. This has gone so fast.
Yeah.
Our hour on how to trust your inner guidance. And I'd like to ask all of you ladies, is there one other thing, is there one other thing that you would like to share about what's going on, about how to trust your inner guidance, that you want to leave those that are here with us, or to be able to share with those that will be listening to the replay about how to trust your inner guidance? Who would like to go first?
I'll go, just because I'm speaking the lowest. Is that just a recap of the things that I said earlier is about, it's important to try out different ways that will work for you. And when you find the way that works for you, it will resonate with you and you'll feel at peace with it. And you won't have that need to keep looking to, well, is this it? Will this work? And not to say that you won't incorporate different things as you go along, But to get your initial start, find one that resonates with you. Like I said, I can meditate, but I don't feel like I meditate like meditation. A lot of people have a skewed view of what meditation is, about being completely quiet and emptying everything. And once I realized that that's not really what meditation is, meditation became a lot easier. That also surrounding yourself, using discernment and choosing the voices that you listen to that are guiding you, because like Karen said earlier, it could be guru, it could be anything attached to it. But if what they're saying doesn't resonate or fit for you, then it's a no-go. And I've run into a lot of people who claim to be the professionals and the key people, but then I see the back part of their life, the behind the scenes, and I'm like, you don't even believe the stuff that you're telling other people. So you want to look for people who are in true alignment across the board with what they're teaching you and saying to you. And then, just practice, and trust.
Okay. Karen, C, anything that you want to leave the people with?
Yes, and what I would like to leave everyone is, trust comes from within. That's it. Trust comes from, and there's nothing outside of you that's going to give you that. Trusting your inner guidance comes from within, period. And you can trust that.
Okay, go ahead. And Karen?
What I'd like to leave people with your trusting your inner guidance would be, not everybody it doesn't come to all of us the same way. And so if you're like me and you're a more practical person, then when it do come to you, you might want to write it down, find steps to go by and things that will nurture you that way. And so that's how I have learned and dealt with my feeling, my spirit, to just trust it in that manner. And versus just keep it in my head. For me, I have to write things down. I also have to name them at times. And I have to speak out loud about it. And that's how I go about mine. So if anything, everybody, just know that everybody has everything that they need. They're born with it. But some of us express it. Most of us, actually everybody, express it differently. And don't feel that you have to get yourself to somebody else's level. Don't feel you have to act like a certain individual for that to mean that you're actually working off of what you know that you know that you know. Because that's what, for me, your inner guidance is. You know without a shadow of a doubt, this is what I'm supposed to do. And everything will support you in that decision, whether you like it or not. And if you're not listening and you go kilter, it will bring you back. Things will happen so that you can see that this specific thought, this idea, and thing that you're supposed to do is gonna get done, period. Even if it takes a longer time.
And one of the things, I like what you said about writing it down. How do I trust my inner guidance? When I first started turning back to it, I started writing it down. I didn't act on it. I just wrote it down because I went back to see, whether or not I say that you need to be open. You need to expect your inner guidance. You need to trust it, then act on it. Well, if we haven't gotten to the trust point of listening to our inner guidance, one way to do it is when you get it or you think you got it, write it down. Write it down, and you may not act on it, but you have it as a record to go back and say, oh, that inner guidance that told you to turn right instead of left. That inner guidance that told you to not go in. When you start trusting, writing it down, then you have a record to be able to go back and use it. And Tiffany mentioned something else. She said meditation. Meditation is different for everybody. I thought that you had to sit with your hands in the closed and your legs crossed when I first started. I realized the meditation is simply listening, getting yourself to the point that you listen. Listen to your inner guidance. That may mean that you do it while you're driving the car because your mind is not cluttered with stuff. That may mean that your meditation is through walking. Meditation can be done many different ways. There are many different ways of listening to our inner guidance. So, and when you learn to listen, you begin to trust it. I just want to thank you all. Anything else that you wanted to say, Karen?
I just wanted to offer to everyone, number one, I see there's a lot of people on here, and this is my first time doing blog, and I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed our guests, Tiffany and Karen, and of course, Elizabeth Green, you know I love you. And so there's a few questions that I know that's going to stir up with each and every one of you, because when you open up a dialogue such as this, it actually activates at a cellular level. And if you want to speak more into that, contact Elizabeth Green. And if you need more support beyond that, she and I will always work together on behalf of all of humanity to support you as you ascend into the truth of who you are. So you're not alone. You're finding your tribe, and this is a great platform to find your tribe and be respectful to each other's levels of awareness where you're at, and notice that everyone is working towards the same thing, going back to source, create a source. And so thank you for this opportunity, and I love you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Yes, I am an intuitive. For a while, I didn't run around telling people that. One of the comments on the side said they didn't know I was an intuitive. I will say I'm a life coach, but I'm really an intuitive channel. That's
so may I interject and talk about that for a moment? Because you have done wonders for my clients here at the Spirit Within You. I know when you show up, you're here for someone. All the time you're here for someone. And immediately when I put you together with that individual, again, using my intuition, it's amazing how their life changed just from one conversation with you, because you give them permission to know what they don't know. To thine self be true, and that's what you do with your intuition.
Well, thank you, Karen. It's taken me so long to trust it. I hopefully, in the teaching that I do in the classes that I present, don't forget I'm going to be doing the essential skills to creating the life you want. It is my intent to help others get clear on their intuition faster and be able to live a joyful life, to live their best life now. That's my whole purpose. And to be able to share the information as clearly and distinctly as possible. Having great guests, great co-hosts always help. This is divine. This is inner guidance bringing us together. So feel free. You have any more questions, you can direct message me on Twitter. You can get in touch with either Karen or I on Facebook. Remember that Karen Fern is doing our financial part, helping us, that all of us who have not learned, like me, how to do the financial part. She's always here on Thursday helping us to tap into that. So I am going to sign off. I wish everybody Sai, tell you what, why don't you contact me on direct message me, and we can on so that you can stay in touch. Follow me on Twitter, Blab, or Facebook. And if you have a specific question, go ahead and direct message me. I'd love to stay in touch with you and let you know what I'm doing. Okay. So leave you with my poem, because it always reminds me to don't quit, because I'm telling you, when you are tapping back into it, things can seem to get rough. So the poem is, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. For life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us will someday learn. And many a failure turn about that might have won if they'd stuck it out. Success is just failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the cloud of doubt. And you never know how close you are. You may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. May light, love, and laughter follow you on the path. Have a blessed one. I see you leaning forward, Karen.
Yeah, I'm just loving it. I'm very present right now. I'm just very grateful for this moment. And I'm always humbled because what we do is unique. You know that. And they're naysayers for what we do. So I'm always blessed and humbled to be used as a source for others so they may have their own voice. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, both of you, Karens, and have a blessed one.
You too.
Okay?